Today's episode of the Mountain Matchups podcast is brought to you by JW Sheds and Carports. Whether you're looking for a new shed to store your tools or a sturdy carport to keep your vehicle protected, JW's has you covered. Located at 10 Pallet Road in Candler, North Carolina, JW Sheds and Carports offers high-quality, durable structures to meet all your outdoor storage needs. Give them a call today at 828-777-8401 to learn more, or stop by and check out their selection in person. That's 828-777-8401 for JW Sheds and Carports, your trusted source for sheds and carports in Candler.
You're listening to the Mountain Matchups podcast, your home for Western North Carolina high school sports.
Hello and welcome back to another edition of the Mountain Matchups podcast. It's Caleb, Corey, Jason, and surprise, surprise, Dylan's back after missing last episode. Dylan, where were you, buddy?
A little Thanksgiving activities, a little turkey.
Yeah. Did you have fun?
No.
Well, we missed you.
I missed y'all. That's why I didn't have fun.
Glad you're back. One quick note for the show. Jason is no longer Jason. His name is Warren because that's what we've always called him. We tried to switch to Jason for the podcast, and last episode we would call him Jason, then we'd call him Warren, then we go back to Jason. So from now on, he is Warren because that's what our brains default to. So it's Caleb, Dylan, Corey, and Warren.
Thank you, sir.
Don't you forget it.
How's your weekend, Corey?
It's pretty fun. Did a little hunting. Didn't kill nothing, but always fun to be out there.
Nice. Well, I went to a Hornets game. Saw them lose again. Always a good time. Spending money, watching them lose. Broken record year after year, baby.
How was that hotel room on top of the light rail?
Yeah, I slept for about an hour and a half. There's a freaking light rail go through about every 45 minutes. Good Lord.
He said his hotel room is right above it. It's like a train that runs through Charlotte.
Only Warren.
He was right beside the arena, though, so that was nice.
Yeah, until it wasn't.
Yeah.
What about you, Caleb? What'd you get into this weekend?
We were hosting Raina's family. So they were here for about a week. The weekend was like the middle part of that. So we did a bunch of stuff. Did a little axe throwing with the father-in-law. Not at each other. At an actual axe throwing place. He might have wanted to throw an axe at me.
Jack was throwing ninja stars, your brother-in-law.
He's not the brother-in-law yet. Don't put him in the family.
True.
Don't put him in there.
He's still got time to blow it.
Oh.
All right, fellas. Well, let's go ahead and jump right into it. We picked Murphy and Robbinsville as our game of the week. First half was pretty good. Second half, not so much. The Black Knights started off strong with a 13-6 lead at halftime, but were outscored 21-0 by the Murphy Bulldogs in the third quarter. Robbinsville's defense gave up too many explosive plays and had too many costly penalties as their comeback fell short in a 34-21 loss to the Murphy Bulldogs.
Yeah, I watched a little bit of this game. Bryce Adams hit Darian Butler about, 4 minutes left in the first with a 36-yard dime. You know, Murphy answered right back on their next drive, 20-yard rushing TD by Will Shore. They went for two, which I'm not a big fan of, but they didn't make it. So they were down 7-6. Went back and forth for a little bit. And then Robbinsville scored on a rushing TD by Bryce Adams with under a minute left. Robbinsville trying to go for the upset. They were up 13-6 at the half. So they had a really solid first half in that game.
Warren, see, I gotta disagree on the going for two there. Most of the times in games, no, but in that game, I kind of like that call because everything's on the line. Trying to go out. I mean, trying to make a statement. You know. Now they could have bit him in the butt, but I like the call.
Yeah, I agree to disagree, but it's I guess coach's preference, I believe.
Warren takes the points.
Yeah.
So at the start of the second half, Murphy gets a little gutsy and recovers their onside kick. Cadence Leatherwood goes ahead and rushes in for a touchdown on the opening drive of the second half to tie the game at 13. And things get a little crazy. There's a bad snap in the red zone by Murphy on 4th and 1 that leads to a turnover. So Robbinsville takes over on possessions, and Robbinsville actually turns it back over on downs inside their 20. And this leads to another rushing touchdown by who else? Cadence Leatherwood with 2 minutes left in the third quarter. And so that makes it 20-13 Murphy, and Robbinsville throws an INT on the next possession and immediately gives up a 6-yard rushing touchdown by Cameron Clem, who can't wait to talk about him a little bit later. And that makes it 27-13 Murphy.
Yeah, we should talk a little bit about that, deciding to go for an onside kick to begin the second half. it's a ballsy move. And of course, they get it. It changes the whole ball game right there. I think it changes the momentum. It changes everything.
So after that explosive 60-yard rushing touchdown by Cameron Glenn, it's 27-13 Murphy. Robbinsville's actually driving in the third quarter, trying to give himself a chance at the comeback. And then they throw another interception in plus territory, giving the ball back to Murphy in the fourth quarter. On Murphy's next drive, their quarterback Brady Grant slipped rolling out of the pocket, but escaped and took it 70 yards to the house to make it 34-13. Robbinsville then drove down the field for a touchdown by Isaac Collins and got the 2-point conversion to make it 34-21. It's getting a little closer, but there was only 5:23 left in the fourth quarter. Robbinsville was actually able to get a stop on Murphy's next possession, but then got a face mask penalty, which gave Murphy the first down, and from there, they were able to run the clock down. Things got a little chippy, but Murphy wins 34-21.
Let's survive in advance. It's a good win.
That's it.
So who's Murphy got next to him?
A little team called Mountain Heritage.
Mountain Heritage. That'll be a good game.
I think Mountain Heritage is going to stomp them, boys.
Yeah, we'll have to talk about that one in a bit.
But imagine if that face mask penalty doesn't get called to give Murphy that first down. I mean, you wonder if Robbinsville can make something happen of it and get an onside kick. That's tough. Tough way to go out.
Heck, imagine if they didn't get that onside kick. I mean, there's no telling what could happen after that.
I do think the officiating in some of these playoff games we've been covering has been interesting, to say the least. A lot of ticky-tack calls, it seems like. Granted, I didn't see the face mask. It could have been something absolutely insane. But it's just a tough call with that much on the line right there for, a penalty like that, in my opinion anyway.
It had to have been blatant. I mean, because I don't know how you would make that call if it was something, I don't know. That'd be mind-blowing to me.
Either way, you can't go back and change it now. Murphy advances 34-21. And guys, we got to keep talking about them because they're continuing to win. Brevard with another blowout win, 42-6 over East Rutherford. Brevard stomped them into submission with yet another impressive second half performance where they outscored East 35-0. The second half beatdown led to a Cavalier coach being ejected and the team walking off the field with 2:43 left in the game.
Yeah, I'll discuss this one a little bit. I'm going to start off by saying these teams do not like each other at all. It was evident in this game. First possession, though, East Rutherford, they did a hurry-up offense. Coach Coleman of Brevard likes to sub his players in and out quite a bit. That proved a little costly on the first drive. East Rutherford went up 6 on a touchdown, missed the XP. Pinkerton for East Rutherford was dominant early and often, and to be honest, he's dominant throughout the game. And then Justin Weaver of Brevard scored from the one with 1:19 left in the first. Extra point was good. Thought Brevard would go in the half up 7-6. Pinkerton then ripped off his 53-yard screen, making it first and goal with 55 seconds left in the first half. This, to me, was a changing point in the game. He was stopped on the goal line as time expired. Brevard players stormed off. The crowd's going wild. That was the changing point. East Rutherford players seemed and looked absolutely, I'm not going to say devastated because it was the end of the first half, but they were very disappointed. Brevard in the first half, to me, they were outplayed and somehow went into halftime leading 7-6. And then they did their thing in the second half, and I'll let Corey elaborate on that a little bit.
Yeah, well, I want to make a point that Kessinger, the quarterback for Brevard, he spoke a little bit about in the locker room what it was like at halftime, and it wasn't this, big-time pep talk speech that Coach Coleman gave them. He said it was mainly the kids. He said that he has never seen his or his teammates have the type of fight in their eyes that they had. I mean, he said they wanted it badly, and I'm sure that they did because of how they went out last year, losing in the third round in a game they should have won. Also, I want to touch on, I didn't even know they used Judson Weaver in that power package on short yardage situations. That is freaking deadly. I mean, and you got a D1 Dylan Galloway playing tight end too. I mean, yeah, and they talked about too. That's why they ended up going back to that in the second half, and that's what I think really, set them apart from East Rutherford is how they were able to come out there in the power formations and just really run the ball down their throat. They said East Rutherford just could not stop it. So in the second half, Brevard immediately, second play of the game, 66-yard touchdown from Braylon Thompson right out of the gate. I mean, imagine what that does to East Rutherford. Like, holy crap. And they're known for having these big third quarters and big second halves too. They talked about it all before the game, and we've just seen it in the past. I think in the past 3 playoff games this year, I think they've outscored opponents in the second half like 94-21, if I'm not mistaken. It's freaking ridiculous.
Insane.
So then Skinner scores from the 2-yard line after a East Rutherford muff punt. Brevard goes up 22-6 with a little over 7 to play in the third. The opponents, Warren, what do they need to do?
I'm just going to say the opponents, at least in the third quarter or second half, they're going to start paying some damn property taxes because Brevard owns it, period. So, their next opponent on Friday, you better get that checkbook out because Brevard's going to own you in the second half, especially the third quarter, rather.
Here come the Brevard tax collectors. So Brevard goes on, scores 15 points in the first 5 minutes of the third quarter. Coach from East Rutherford had to actually be taken off the field. Ejected. Christian Connolly for Brevard throws a touchdown at Solomon Young mossed the East Rutherford receiver to go up 28-6. The game is now getting ugly. And I'm going to go ahead and say, guys, we know how good Brevard is in the second half. If you're East Rutherford, the last thing you can do is come in second half, start with all these freaking mistakes that you got going on. Freaking coach getting ejected. Still want to know what the hell happened there. That's pretty wild, and especially how things ended, which we'll touch on in a minute. But so there's 4 unsportsmanlike penalties on the play. Skinner, another TD, make it 35-6. That's 35 unanswered points, and a wild change of events. Cavalier players under direction from their coach, telling players to leave the field with 2:43 left to go in the game. I can only imagine what the Brevard side was saying. I can only imagine what was going on in the parking lot. But, Warren, I wish that we would have stuck around for that.
So we need to touch base about that a little bit because we don't know what actually happened or transpired on the field for them to actually leave the field. There's always 2 sides of the story. I know a lot of fans want to say, East Rutherford, poor sportsmanship, this and that. But we don't know what actually happened on the field. It looks bad, though. That is a bad freaking look right there.
I just want to say, do you think it's because they thought they were running the score up on them on purpose, or like what's y'all's opinions on it?
I'm sure it has something to do with that. I mean,
Erwin got smoked like 58-0. Did you see their players walk off the field? It can't be because of the score.
Nope.
It had to be because of coach got ejected, or one of their coaches got ejected. Maybe they felt like the officials were doing them wrong. Unsportsmanlike penalties, which that 4 unsportsmanlike penalty in one play, 2 went against each team. So it's 2 on Brevard and 2 on East Rutherford. So something happened. Maybe the coaches just like, the hell with this. We're getting out of Dodge. Regardless, it's just a bad look. Now, we obviously don't know the whole story. But
obviously, it had to have something to do with the refs too, in my opinion. I'm not saying reffing was bad by any means. I'm just saying usually something that bad happens if a coach is getting ejected and they're that pissed to tell your freaking high school kids to leave the field. And I'm not saying even if the reffing was bad that it's okay to do such a thing.
Yeah.
But I just think that had to play a part in it too.
Well, I'm just going to say the refs didn't give up a 66-yard run to Braylon Thompson right out the gate in the second half.
Yeah, that's the truth. You
can only blame the refs for so much that occurred in the game. You got stomped 42-6. Now, if it was like 42-34, 42-31, where a call could have went their way, this and that, yeah, you might have a little bit of a gripe. I mean, you got smoked by 36 points.
For me personally, this is the first time in all of high school sports I've actually seen something like that happen on a field where they just walk off during the middle of the game.
I mean, my senior year, freaking Rico Dowdle and them boys were running it up on us 79-10. Did I still shake hands with them? Yes. Did I want to? Probably not. But you don't just leave, man. Come on. You got your tail whipped. Deal with it.
There were 4 or 5 East Rutherford players that stayed on the field to shake hands.
Shout out to you boys.
So I'll give them definite props, especially the seniors on that team. This is their last game, or some of them rather, most of them probably. You don't want to go out like that. I don't know. I just don't like it, regardless of how you think you may have gotten cheated, if that's even the case. I mean, I don't know.
You still have some pride about you, and just take it. Go shake their hand. It's over done with. It's a freaking football game.
You got to take your ass whipping and go out there and shake hands. Let's just be men about it.
Yep.
So Brevard advances 42-6 over East Rutherford, and they will host Forest Hills on Friday night. We'll touch on that game here in just a bit. Another game in the mountains, we had Mountain Heritage 38, East Wilkes 14. Mountain Heritage continues to roll.
Yeah, I wanted to speak on that a little bit. So this was actually, I mean, it was just a blowout. But the one thing to mention is this was Mountain Heritage only the third time this season that they haven't won with a running clock, which is an incredible statistic. So
That's unreal.
But big shout out to Braden Quinn. We're going to be talking about him later. He ended up having 186 yards, 5 touchdowns on 19 carries, which was a big game.
So the wagon keeps rolling, Mountain Heritage.
Mountain Heritage, we really want to cover more of you guys, but y'all got to stop murdering people first.
Yeah, definitely don't murder.
Yeah, and that improves them to 11-0. And they actually scored on every possession but one.
And sadly, boys, West Charlotte versus Erwin. West Charlotte goes into Erwin, wins 58-0. We kind of predicted that, saw it coming in our last episode. You know, Erwin lost, but they still had a season to be proud of at 10-2, and of course, undefeated conference champs. Just a tough way to end your season for the Erwin Warriors.
Hey, you said Erwin was winning that game.
I know.
I knew they had the karma coming after the week before. I told you about them throwing the ball when they were up.
They won our hearts, and that's all that matters.
I just want to say I'm proud of them. I mean, after what the season they had last year, and then coming back and winning the conference, I just think that's a huge feat on their part. So they have something to be proud about, especially your quarterback's only a sophomore. He threw for nearly 3,000 passing yards. You got your star wide receiver coming back. He had 1,000 yards receiving. So I feel like next year they're going to be something to watch out for.
I didn't see 58-0 coming. I really didn't.
I didn't either.
No, I thought the Heart would get a little more points than that, but again, they had some injuries too, which you can't use as an excuse. But West Charlotte, I think I read in the Citizen Times, they've got like double the attendance of Erwin. So with the whole reclass going on, there's going to be 8 different classes in North Carolina high school athletics next year. And West Charlotte falls in 8A, whereas Erwin's 5A. So that just shows you the gap.
Yeah.
In the student body pool that you can take from to build a team out of, it's much larger coming from somewhere like West Charlotte than it is in Erwin. So unfortunately, they lose 58-0. But as Dylan mentioned, Caden Ingles coming back, Lawson Reynolds is coming back. You know, they'll have a good team next year too. So good luck to them. And with that, it's time for our Mountain Matchup Certified Dogs of the Week. So my pick is Mountain Heritage quarterback Brandon Quinn, who rushed for 186 yards and 5 tutties against East Wilkes to advance Mountain Heritage to the 4th round of the 1A playoffs. Brandon Quinn, certified dog.
And I'm going to have to go with Cameron Clem from Murphy. Dude rushed for 239 yards and a touchdown on only 19 carries, with his longest run being 63 yards. Yeah, Cameron Clem, certified dog.
So for my certified dog, I got Malachi Simpson. He had 32 points, 8 rebounds, 2 assists, 4 steals, and 1 block against the North Henderson in that game. So he's on our top players to watch out for WNC, and this is his first game. 32 points. Love to see it. Shout out him.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Riley Spencer from Inca Wrestling. She won the 114-pound weight class of the Jet Invitational, and all 4 of her matches were by pinfall. She just dominated every lady she went up against. So props to her, and that's my dog of the week.
We said we needed to talk more about Mountain Heritage. They've been a beast of a team all year. Well, I think our game of the week is going to be Murphy at Mountain Heritage. Murphy comes into Mountain Heritage 12-1, Mountain Heritage 11-0. Boys, what do you see in that game?
I'll tell you what I see. I see Brandon Quinn running all over them. I know he's technically a quarterback. Obviously, he's a dual threat quarterback. He might attempt 4 or 5 passes a game. But, I mean, why attempt more passes than that? We can rush for 250 yards a game. His zone read is phenomenal. Mount Heritage is extremely well coached. In my opinion, obviously the best team in the mountains. Might be the best team in the state for their class. I see them running all over them, literally.
Yeah, so 346 yards on the ground per game for Mountain Heritage.
Yeah,
they're crazy.
They're the only team to beat Erwin in the regular season from around here too. So I think that I'm going to have to take Mountain Heritage in this game over Murphy. Quinn's just going to be too much for him. Murphy struggled with Robbinsville there for a while, and Mountain Heritage is just too good. I'm going to say Mountain Heritage by, let's go 21.
You have to remember
like that.
Mountain Heritage beat Erwin whenever Erwin was fully healthy as well.
That's what I'm saying. So
Yeah.
I don't even think this game's particularly close. I know the records say otherwise, but you take it. Murphy didn't really play teams like an Erwin, and so yes, they're both small 1A schools, but Mountain Heritage beats a team like Erwin, who doesn't have another loss until they play somebody like West Charlotte. So that tells you how good Mountain Heritage is. Not saying Murphy's not, but Mountain Heritage is just different caliber.
I'm going to pick Mountain Heritage as well. I just think it's a whole different class whenever it comes to who they played and stuff like that. So I do got them scoring. Don't have them be an absolute blowout. I think they'll put up 10, but I do see Mountain Heritage putting up 31, maybe even more.
Well, one thing I noticed about Murphy when I was watching them play Robbinsville, they look small. I think Mountain Heritage has some hosses. I think that they're going to overpower Murphy. And again, it's going to be a blowout. I'm talking maybe I'll get 35 points. Mountain Heritage will win by 35.
Jeez.
Murphy.
I can tell you right now who's not small. That's Brandon Quinn. He's a solid 6'2", 190.
That's a big old. That's a big old
guy.
kid.
And that's muscle too. That's not like string bean type stuff. That's some dominant muscle right there.
You've been eating that corn and taters, son.
Then yeah.
The only other Western North Carolina team we have left in the playoffs is, of course, Brevard, who we mentioned is hosting Forest Hills. Forest Hills coming in at 10-3, Brevard 10-2. And kind of like what we were talking about in the last game, Brevard runs the piss out of the ball. And surprisingly, Forest Hills is more of a passing attack. They don't actually run near as much. They're averaging about 222.9 passing yards per game to around 150 on the ground. So a bit more of a balanced attack, more air yards. They got 223 yards receiving. So going to be a task for sure for Brevard. One interesting stat, fellas, before we do our picks. They both played Anson within about 2 weeks of each other. Forest Hills won 25-8. Brevard, and this was in the first round of the playoffs, 42-6. So if that scores any indicator, Brevard might be able to put up some points against Forest Hills like they've been doing all playoffs.
I'll touch base on this game a little bit. We talked with Coach Coleman, right? He said he likes to run his 4-3 attack defense. Forest Hills likes to pass the ball a little bit more than run. I think their passing attack is going to be in danger with that defense. Based on that and the way Brevard's playing right now, especially in the second half and third quarter, I got to go right now. Brevard 28, Forest Hills 17. I think it's going to be a good overall game. Brevard's just, in my eyes, they're better, and I think their defense is going to step up. Just like Coach Coleman talked about, their 4-3 attack defense gives up some big plays sometimes, but that defense also makes some big plays, and I think they'll make some big plays Friday night, and I think they'll win the game.
Warren, I gotta agree with you, man. That's exactly what I've been thinking. Brevard with their attack on the defensive side of the ball, getting to the quarterback, as much as we saw them against Bunker Hill with either the QB hurries or the sacks or whatever, knocking down passes. Forest Hills is going to have to be able to run the ball a lot more than what their rushing yards per game is showing. Yeah, I got to go with Brevard on this one as well, man. I just think, and plus Brevard's going to control the clock. They are when you got Skinner and Thompson running the ball. They figured out they're really hard to stop in their power sets. So yeah, I'm gonna go Brevard 35, Forest Hills 21.
Yeah, and I'm gonna follow y'all up on that for sure. I got the Blue Devils winning 34-14. I think it'll be an all right game at the beginning, but I think Brevard will just take off with it, just like you've seen them do in the past.
Yep, I'm going to take Brevard 35, Forest Hills 21. It's another kind of slow first half for the Blue Devils. And then again, they come out guns blazing in the third quarter. It's what they do.
I will say one thing. If Brevard does lose, I am deeply sorry because I don't think I picked a game right all season. But
your reverse jinx is good.
Yeah, I'm going with my heart this time. I firmly believe Brevard's going to win this game. Firmly.
Uh-oh. We're in trouble, boys.
The kiss of death.
You couldn't just stick with what you did last week when you picked East Rutherford?
No, I thought I would talk and just sound like I'm sophisticated and intelligent and give an analysis on what I think is going to occur. And it will occur. The jinx is over. It's time to get back to reality now.
All right. Well, good luck, Blue Devils. You're going to need it with Warren picking you.
Yeah, you will.
So I just wanted to mention, I just wanted to bring up the two-time class of 4A state champions, the Greenies. They're off to a hot start again this season. They're beating their opponents by an average of 21.5 points per contest. The Greenies are currently ranked 17th in the nation for high school basketball around the country.
So with that, I think we've tackled another episode, boys.
Had fun as always.
Hey, I appreciate you guys, and I love it, each and every one of you.
Enjoy seeing y'all each every week. Go Blue
Love you,
Devils.
Warren.
Go Brevard.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us this episode, and we'll see you next week. Love you guys.